Hi, so good to meet you.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for inviting me. I was excited. I was like, hey.
Hey, yeah, I've seen that you made a lot of really nice videos. You're doing great content. I really enjoy
Thank
watching it.
you.
Yeah, and I first found you on TikTok, and I don't even remember. Yeah, I don't even remember what exactly we're talking about. I think it was a relationship topic, and I thought, oh, I really like the way how you are explaining things, and I would really like
Hmm.
talking to you. So then I made a bit of research, and then I went on Instagram, checked your Instagram, and I saw, ah, okay, you really make nice content. You explain things really well. I really like the way you talk, so I thought I would really like talking to you. And yeah, it's great that you had time also quite spontaneously. So we set it up
Hmm.
very quickly. Thought,
Appreciate that so much.
yeah, I thought I will introduce the podcast to you. I'll tell you what it's all about. I will introduce myself. Then you can probably do the same, and then we will just let the conversation flow and just see where it goes. So usually it's just very spontaneously, and we mainly will talk about your work and your take on things.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Yeah, so I'm Anna, I'm Anastasia. I currently live in Germany and I started this podcast around 1 year ago. The idea of it, the name is Insanity, is to challenge existing and established beliefs in society. So, the beliefs that we have as a society, in order to find our own authentic way of life. So, we can figure out if where we are heading or yeah what we are doing every in our everyday life, if it's something that is based on our own values or if it's based on expectations from our environment. And I thought maybe this is like the insane way, to challenge beliefs, but maybe it's also the very sane way. That's why insanity itself has this double meaning. And therefore, I was inviting content creator, artists, gurus, philosophers, authors, different kinds of people who went down a very unique path in life. So, who started careers that are not the average careers that you would expect from people. And I wanted to talk to them to figure out what their way of thinking is, why they are doing what they're doing, and how they can actually inspire each and every one of us to follow this example. And I thought you could be someone like that because you're actually doing exactly that kind of stuff. You're also questioning things, you have very unique perspectives. And I would like to learn more about you because I think you are inspiring. And there were some videos that we can talk about that I just recently I watched some of your stuff and I really like your take on things. So yeah, that's why I really like to ask you why you started doing content, like what makes you do what you are doing, and yeah, probably you can
Yeah.
introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yes, no, I love everything that you just explained. Like it was clicking with me. I'm like, I love that.
Mhm,
I love that. But my name is Deirdra. I actually live in Atlanta, Georgia,
mhm.
but I'm originally from Wisconsin, so kind of moved here a couple of years ago. But yeah, I actually started more doing desserts. So like the other half of like I created
Excellent.
this blog, which started off as a desserts blog because that was like a passion that I had. But as time went on, I was like, I want to expand the blog into like a lifestyle blog and just, something that came up for me that I just like continued to felt like I needed to pursue is just like, I don't know, kind of like inspiring people to feel that freedom, kind of like you said, to be authentic, to pursue the crazy dreams that they have in life. So really having that like dream life motivation thing because
Mhm.
I don't know, it's growing up, I feel like motivational quotes has been a huge thing for me, like motivation in
Really?
general and
Yeah.
seeing all that kind of stuff. So seeing how much it helped me, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to like be able to do that for other people too, in a way,
Mm.
let them know and show them that like you do have the power to create what kind of life you want, whatever
Yes.
dream you want
Yeah.
to pursue, create new, careers that don't exist
Love
and
that.
challenge, like you said, challenge the way things are. And, I think people get a lot like they get kind of complacent in what is and feeling like that it has to continue that way and
Yeah.
just opening people's minds to that, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. And when did you start doing what you're doing?
So I've been like the baking side of things, I've been doing that since I was like 8 years old. But
Hmm.
the actual like dream life motivation side, probably just since the beginning of this year, a little bit
Hmm.
last year.
Oh,
I,
wow. Hmm.
I would like dabble here and there. And then finally 2024, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go straight, head first into it and really do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And are you doing that for a job or do you have another career that you're also pursuing in your everyday life?
Yeah, so I work part-time
Hmm.
at uh what's it called? Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's just where they do like concerts and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
my main business is my desserts blog. So I do behind the scenes content creation. So as I
Yeah.
build my blog, I'll sell recipes and content to bloggers. So that's my main thing.
That's very interesting
So
because
then,
I also thought that your content looks quite professional. So because very often when people just start, and I kind of thought that probably the motivational stuff cannot be that old, or at least it didn't look that
mhm,
old, but it seems like you have a lot of experience because the way you're filming, like the whole setup, it looks quite
yeah,
professional. So I thought like, wow, okay, you
thank you.
must have some experience there. Yeah.
Yeah, doing the behind the scenes part of it for other people for a while definitely helped out on that front. And
Yeah.
then I recently got like a camera because I usually do stuff with my phone, but as soon as I got that, I was like, oh, I just feel like I need to upgrade everything. Everything has to
Yes.
be, high quality. So I think
Awesome.
it's also the fun part of it too for me, like creating that, you know,
Hmm.
ambiance and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And how did you get into this motivational business?
Honestly, I feel like it came a lot from my dad. So he was someone who was always like, when it comes to what you want in life, like think extra, extra big, like go
Wow.
as far as you can, think
Hmm.
about it and write it all down and then we'll work backwards from there. Like don't even worry about like how to get there. Just put out what you know you want to do. So when I kind of sat down and I had this one lady who coached me a little bit for my baking stuff, but she was like, it's like write down what you want your life to look like in 5 years. And I don't know, like when considering like the things that I wanted to put into this world,
Hmm.
and people would tell me sometimes like, oh, they were inspired by the way that like I built my businesses because coming from the town I did, I don't think a lot of people were in the entrepreneurial space. So I was very like nervous at the beginning to like consider myself as someone who could inspire others because I'm like, oh, like what accolades or what makes me feel like I'm, you know, the one to do that. But I just kind of ended up getting over that fear a little bit and just being like,
Cool.
okay, well, this is what I feel like I know I should do. It's kind of like an intuitional thing of something that I wanted to pursue. So I was just like, let me just do it and we'll see. Because I don't really have like when it comes to like I'm very much a business entrepreneurial person because that's how my parents were.
Hmm.
But this specific thing with like the motivational, it's more just like this is something I want to do. I don't really have any goals related to like a business related to this. Like, your
Hmm. Hmm.
podcast, I'm sure you pursued it because it's just something you want to put out into the world, less about
Yes.
what you're gonna get out of it.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Yeah.
feel that a lot even in my body while you're talking. Yeah, yeah. It's exactly that. Like, how do you describe your intuition? Because I just had even a talk with my mom, and I very often I get this question like, but how do you know it's your intuition? Because sometimes I just clearly know that I go left and not right, for example, or what
Yeah.
my next step is. So I kind of can feel it, but it's very difficult to describe, I think. And how
Mhm.
would you describe what your intuition feels like?
Yeah, that is a hard one. I think it's kind of just like, I don't know. I feel like it's the things that come they come to you when you're not really thinking about it or just like it's like the initial thought or the initial thing that popped in your head is sometimes like your intuition or maybe like something that's recurring, that's like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe you should do that. Like it'll just keep popping up in your life. I feel like and when you kind of affirm it, you're like, I'm noticing that, then that may be like slightly your intuition. But I would agree it's kind of hard sometimes
Mhm.
to decipher. Sorry, my cat is meowing. I don't know
Are
if you
you
heard that.
No, but you also have a cat. I love
Yeah.
cats. I have one too. Well,
Oh, what's his name? Or her?
yeah, I have a girl. The name is Fiona. So
Cute.
yeah, it's a very fluffy one. What's your cat's name?
His name is Ninja. He's an orange cat. Just a tabby, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cute. Yeah, I'm totally in love with cats.
Is the Insanity podcast your main thing, or do you have something outside of it too?
Yeah, I did have something else. So I was a marketing executive. I was a copywriter, and then I started the podcast last year, and I was doing both. And now I quit everything. I quit my job. I'm basically just freelancing because I'm about to move, so I cannot really do something permanently because I'm just packing things and trying to
Yeah.
get rid of everything. So yeah, but my main job for like 12 years has always been a copywriter in advertising.
That's
And
exciting though.
yeah, and social media executive and content creator also for brands and yeah,
Mhm.
for advertising. Yeah. Just today, I've watched one of your videos that I thought is very inspiring. And you said
Mm,
something like you can be uncomfortable or you can be afraid, and that's kind of okay, but you can do things anyway, and you can just do stuff although you're afraid. And I think that's very strong advice because I feel that we are very often in our own way, and sometimes we think, oh, maybe if I'm afraid doing something, that's my intuition speaking, holding me back because there is some danger waiting for me or something.
mhm.
And I think sometimes it's hard to really separate between, is it fear, is it my intuition that says just don't go there? And I thought it's just so strong to really say, okay, just do it anyway. You will kind of figure out and everything's always fine. And
Yeah.
how did you get there? Because is it experience? Did you have some events in your life, or was there something that
Mhm.
brought you to this conclusion?
I feel like I've always been like a really curious person, like inherently. And I kind of go back and forth between like introvert and extroverted, but I think I'm extroverted enough to where I'm like willing to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and I feel like I have to give my parents some responsibility for that too, just like making me and my siblings very comfortable with just like, going to do things and like experiencing new things. So I feel like it's partly that, and it's just partly realizing like, okay, if there's a goal or a place that I want to be, I know I have to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the big part of that was like knowing that, oh, once you do the thing that's scary, like you feel good afterwards, or like you
Yeah.
feel like some sort of accomplishment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can know that that fear is going to be there, but knowing what it feels like after too, it's like, okay, this is going to be here. It's just something that I'll have to like work through. But because I know the thing that's on the other side is so much greater, then it's
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know? I think
Mm-hmm.
just over time continuing to do things that are uncomfortable and realizing that there is something better on the other side of that. Yeah.
Would you say it's important to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable?
I think so. Um, of course there's like a balance that I don't know, like you should have some comfort in your life, but
Yeah.
um I just feel like there's a level of being stagnant if you never decide to do anything uncomfortable, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like you can get used to it and then you're comfortable doing that thing. It's like, oh, what's the next uncomfortable thing? I don't know. I guess it's like if you're a person that likes to grow, if you like to like learn new things and stuff like that, then
Yeah.
I think it's just something you have to get used to.
You have to get used to being uncomfortable. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I also think that growth is where you have to challenge yourself because otherwise it's as you
Mhm.
say, yeah, you just stay where you are. And um, it's just that I'm wondering, why do we have such a challenge with being uncomfortable? Is it education
Yeah.
or why is it like that?
That's a good question. I think it aligns with like the fear thing, you know? It's like if I do this thing, am I going to be judged for it? Or like I think people have that fear of what other people perceive about them.
Hmm.
Um, and like that comes with societal standards and things like that. So
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that is the main thing, you know? Um, yeah. What about
And
you? Would you agree with?
Yeah, I do agree. I think there may be different things that are coming together. So on the one hand, definitely that we are afraid of judgment, which is also a discomfort, and we are kind of not challenging ourselves there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why at some point, especially when I was younger, I liked to do the very opposite, I think subconsciously, of what I was told because I kind of
Mm-hmm.
wanted to experience this, but what if, you know? So, okay, then I'm not liked, but what if I'm not liked? And this eternal
Yeah, yeah.
question, what if, what if, what if? So I pushed myself into this discomfort somehow because I think I was just a pain in the ass. That's why. So I just wanted to do the opposite a little bit and
Hmm.
to prove to myself that I'm still here, even though probably people don't like me. And I think because I've always been a little bit of an outsider when I was little, that because I originally I'm from Ukraine, so I came to Germany when I was very young. I didn't belong here initially. I didn't know anyone, and so I was kind of okay with being alone. So I think this was a little bit of my yeah, my not even safe space, but I was kind of used to it a bit. So it was not such a huge thing to be disliked then because I knew what it's like to be alone sometimes, and I thought, okay, so if nobody likes me right now, what then? And turned out
Hmm.
nothing, like like really
Yeah.
literally nothing. I think when you are a baby, of course you depend on your parents and you depend on your very close environment and that people kind of like you and take care of you so you can survive. But
Hmm.
when you grow up, um, when you're a teenager already, you kind of can take care of yourself and nothing really bad happens to you, even if people exclude you from their circle. So that's uncomfortable, but you kind of survive. So this fear and this initial survival reaction, it doesn't really work anymore. And I think that's what I learned there. So I kind of overcame this, okay, someone doesn't like me. Um, not
So
that it
what?
yeah, so
Yeah.
what exactly? And I think there's also a very nice quote. I don't even actually know who said that, but I appreciate it a lot. It's like the opinion of other people is none of your business. And that's
Mm,
kind of
I love
liberating.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's other people's thoughts and you can't control them anyway, and they have a right to not like me. And I think
Hmm.
once this clicked, and this came even a little bit later than the rebel phase, but once this clicked, that I cannot control other people's thoughts and I don't even have the right to do that. I stopped to be a people pleaser like at all. It completely dropped.
No, that's so true. And I think yeah, it's like the perception of others is going to be different to every like you're going to perceive someone totally different than someone else. Another quote similar to what you were saying is like you're always going to be the villain in somebody's story. Like
Always.
at the end
Yeah.
of the day, something that you may do that's better for you may hurt somebody else unintentionally. And it's like you can't control that. So I
Yeah.
love that. It's like I think of it as like your sphere of control. I feel like a lot of the things that get us into spaces where we don't want to do things is because we're trying to control things that we can't. It's like,
Hmm.
focus on what you want to do. Like you can't control what that other person thinks of you. But do you like yourself? Like, do you
Wow.
like the
Yeah.
things about yourself? And then change that if not, but if you do, then don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is also a big difference between hurting someone intentionally and unintentionally because, of course, if
Mhm.
you're like a bit of a psycho and you like hurting other people, that's one thing, and I think that's very rare thing that that happens. But in general, we don't do that on purpose, and it's like um, if you hurt me during just a normal conversation because you just tell a story or you just say something. And
Mhm.
I think it has something to do with me. It's actually me hurting myself through you, right? So I'm kind of just
Mhm.
using your words to trigger myself with them, but you cannot know about all of my triggers, and it's kind of crazy to make other people responsible for them. So I also think it's healthy to distance ourselves from that because like negative
Mhm.
or uncomfortable, again, uncomfortable feelings are just reactions that most likely have nothing to do with you, probably not even with me, but are just some buttons that probably over many years other people, including family, would have installed within us. And then just someone pushes this button and you will explode without that it's even
Yeah.
a real part of you. It just kind of became an additional thing in your life.
Mhm. And I wanted to go back to the thing you were saying about like being younger, and it made me think about like, when you're like a baby and stuff, you don't care, like you don't have that fear for a lot of things that we just like grow to get as we get older. And I think it's so crazy because it's like it just so it shows you how much like we're just conditioned into not wanting to pursue things, or the fact that they're like, oh, if you want to figure out what you want to do in life, a lot of the times you could just think back to what you loved to do at like 8, 9 years old. And like
Right.
those people who either like started pursuing their passions when they were babies or just super young, and like that's the thing that they love to do and they continue that throughout their life. But a lot of people don't get to do that. A lot of people, mold into this, other thing that, or just feel like their parents told them what they wanted to do or
Yeah.
whatever society. And I think it's so it just kind of shows you like kind of like what you were saying, like we need to break down those walls of like what you've grown up to be conditioned as.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, for sure. Was there something that you loved doing when you were around 8, 9 years old?
It was baking
Like,
actually. So like that was my thing. Like in Girl Scouts, we started baking. And I think the biggest thing for me, it was like, oh, it's like people love desserts and like it just makes people happy to give them desserts. And I
yes.
just really enjoyed that part of it. Even now, it's like I'll bring all my stuff to my coworkers because I sell the recipes and the content, and I'll just have all these extra
Mhm,
desserts.
mhm, mhm.
And they're like, oh my gosh. It's just like watching them enjoy it. I'm like, yes, please eat more.
Oh, that's so cool.
So,
Yeah, but that's also yeah, that's what you just said. It's also bringing pleasure to people somehow through food. I mean, you make people
yeah.
literally happy with food. I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah, cool. Because I'm thinking about that a lot. So there were definitely things that I enjoyed doing when I was around 8, 9 years old, but I'm not really sure that this is exactly what I'm doing right now. But I kind of think
Hmm.
it's the same bubble. It's not the exact same thing, but it's kind of yeah,
Yeah.
being creative. It's maybe writing, it's maybe drawing. And
Hmm.
although I didn't necessarily do everything in my everyday life, okay, probably the writing part, but for example, I like painting and drawing so much, and I'm not doing it every day right now, not in my job, but as a hobby. Or in the podcast, like I implemented in the editing, for example, which is kind of also, yeah, design work. And I just think
Yeah.
it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to become a job, but I think it's so important to express that throughout your life, this talent that you have and
Mhm.
this passion that you bring with you as a child already.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of interested, like in Germany. How old were you when you moved?
Only 3 or 3.5 years.
Okay.
It's just that um, other kids that age that were in kindergarten or that started going to school, they were already in groups. So they already knew other kids. The moms knew each other. I didn't speak German also. So my first memories um, from here were like, I don't speak the language and I'm basically like the lonely kid who cannot really express itself. So
Um,
um, that's why it's like one of these core memories where I really understand, okay, so I had to deal with this being alone and kind of adapting to
mhm.
to other kids. And I think that it's a bit traumatic, but it's also kind of useful right now
Yeah, what
because
makes you you now? Yeah.
yeah. And it's this ability to deal with discomfort because if you're at such a young age, if you experience that, then later on it's like, yeah, okay, so this again, no problem. It's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm interested too, like when it comes to just like societal expectations or even like education, like your education system there growing up,
Mhm.
like were there any things that kind of conditioned you to like think inside of a box instead of outside of a box, or was it open more so?
Yeah, I would say that school system, educational system per se, is built up in a way that makes you think inside the box. I'm not even sure if
Mhm.
that's intentionally. I just think it's easier to evaluate, easier to rate. I don't think I'm not into this conspiracy that someone really tries to do something bad with that.
Mm,
I just think it's like a self-working machine that kind of evolved, became heavy, too heavy, and
yeah.
now it's self-destructive. And at the beginning, I think it just was um, this educational system was made to give a basis, to give people a basis for a common knowledge, common education, and then it became so much of a standard
Mhm.
that yeah, it's kind of difficult to see through things and to break through them. I can give you one example. So math lessons, or yeah, the regular math classes in Germany. Um, you get points, actual points for your tests for the way
Mhm.
to your result and for the result itself. So you get, if you have if the task you solve it correctly, you get points that you have the right result, but you also have even more points that you get for the way there. And other countries, Asian countries, also Slavic countries, or even Russia, Ukraine, they probably have their own ways to the same result. And if I was dreaming in class, for example, I simply wasn't the fittest in math, I would go home and I would get some lessons from my grandpa, who's doctor of mathematics and informatics. So he's kind of fit at that topic.
Right.
And he would teach me that at home, and I would probably have the faster way, the quicker solution. And
Mhm.
I would write that in the test and it would be right. But since my weight there was different, I didn't get the points and I had bad grades. And that was fucking
Yeah.
demotivating. So, yeah.
No, for real, it's like, oh, because I didn't take the same path. That's a
Right.
good analogy, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, we had that too in our schools.
Yeah. And how did you experience that?
Yeah, I was talking about for the math thing, but I think that like also education wise, um, I think about the careers that we had available, or like you would do your like when people were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, we would have these career tests and you'd like
Oh,
answer these questions
mm-hmm,
about like what you like to do, what you were good at, and then they would pop out like careers that you could pursue or that you would be
mm-hmm.
interested in. But I feel like after I left school and after college, even like I was exposed to so many things that I didn't even know existed. Um, Even what I do, like the behind the scenes content creation for baking, it's like when it comes to baking, I thought of, okay, I could own a bakery or I could have like I could ship desserts, have an online bakery, I could have, a
Mm-hmm.
few options within the baking realm, but never did I think that, oh, I can actually be a recipe developer, sell a package of pictures and a recipe to someone else. It's just like there's just so many things that you don't learn about in like education or in just the bubble of what is offered when you're younger. And I think just being open-minded to creating something new or just seeing where a certain um what do you call it demand exists or if a demand for something exists is something that you don't really get in school. Yeah.
Right. I've heard an interview once. Don't remember who the woman was, but her take was, or her opinion was that um, the educational system is not built to create leaders, it's built to create workers. It's built for
Hmm.
efficiency, and probably that makes sense if we go back into times when you had a lot of war and you had to build up the country again and you needed things to
Yeah.
be done very quickly.
Hmm.
But now, I mean, depending on where, yeah, depends on where we live. But in general, if you are kind of in a peaceful environment, the next step would be from, okay, we survived and we build it up again, to
Hmm.
how can we make it really cool? And cool means
Right.
development, means thinking further, means creating. It means not like
Mm.
fixing, means creating actually. And for creation, you need to have this mindset that you can build your own business. You need this outside the box mindset, because otherwise you will always just copy what already existed and you won't use your own
Mhm.
creativity for something new.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just listening to a podcast because I am into conspiracy theories, but
Ah, okay, tell me more
we're
about it.
using they were doing like the conspiracy theory of one of the Rockefellers, the one who had like 916 billion in like 1920 or something like that. And that
Oh,
was
wow.
his quote because yeah, and I'm like, imagine how much money that is now. Wild. But he like invested so much money into like the General Board of Education in the
Hmm.
US. And what I think that was his quote that she was mentioning. He said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers.
Oh,
So it's
damn.
like, yeah. So it's like he's
Damn.
investing all this money so that they create a certain curriculum in
Mm,
school to create a nation of workers and not thinkers. So it's things like that that you don't even notice sometimes that you may think it's unintentional, but when you do some digging,
mm. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I can imagine that there are some
Mhm.
individuals who will
Yeah.
actually have the big dream of control. And it's just that
Right.
there are so much more other people. And I kind
Yeah.
of
And
think
that's
that,
not
yeah,
everywhere, of course.
yeah, but
That
it's
was just
wild.
here
Like
in the US.
900 billion sounds really crazy. Like, wow, today it would be like
How do you
double or triple.
comprehend that?
Difficult, but okay, cool. Yeah,
Wild.
but
Yeah.
so there may be people who probably want to maintain power, but I'm also wondering, aren't they currently dying out somehow? Because it's so many years ago and the mindset set kind of shifts. And even if we look back to the 20s or yeah, even like 30, 40 years ago, even if I look at my own family and yeah, the older generation there, I feel that's so much evolution that I can see there in the mindset shift
Mhm.
from, let's say, the oldest people of one family, clan, whatever, and then the
Yeah.
youngest, and something is changing. And it
Mhm.
maybe it has been like that forever. It's just like I have only my own observational skills and I can just
Um,
see evolution happening. And I see all these older people who are like, am I right or am I wrong when I'm saying something like, yeah, but I'm right, right? Like, please reassure me. Please tell me that I was right. And then you have the younger ones who are like, okay. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that because it means okay, if you have to be right so desperately and if you try to be the so much in control means you're kind of still fighting for your survival. But if you're like, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
whatever, I'm ordering a cocktail and then I'm just working on my business and I'm just doing whatever I think is right. And that's kind of okay, I'm creating from a space of everything's gonna be all right somehow. And
Mhm.
that's it's super different mindset within already one family within
Generation.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I agree. I do think that's like, and I feel like that's where like the clash is right now in the world. It's because like you have such a different mindset that's like emerging. And but like when you look at, I guess, institutions of what is being run, it's still those really, really old people. And yeah, eventually they'll die off, but that sounds so bad. But like
It's true.
um but then I guess how much of that rhetoric is still in, like, how hard is it now to change that?
Hmm, hmm.
Because it's been implemented for so long, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like you can have new thought processes, but um yeah, I don't know. I feel like it becomes really difficult, at least when I look at it for like government regulations and stuff. It's like,
Hmm, hmm.
why is it so hard to change something? Because I don't know. I guess those people are still there, but I just think it's the way that it's been implemented sometimes.
For such a long time, and also we grow up learning that
Yeah.
this is the way to go, and probably it's like we grow up thinking that's the way to go, and when we are older we think but that's the way to go, and at some point probably we think it's not, but we are so used to the way to go. um but also at the same time, what's evolving is the whole big bubble of AI. And I kind of think it will work with each other somehow. So I think there is so much going on right now that we have zero control over that probably this will kind of regulate itself a little bit. For
Yeah.
example, like, okay, so many jobs will probably fall apart. There will be just so much change in itself already through the whole progress and technology that we
Mhm.
will be so in, there will be so much need for us to react to that. And it will be a lot of new stuff to deal with anyway. So we will start things from scratch. We will rearrange things. There will be so much need for change anyway that we kind of
Mhm.
have no choice there.
Yeah. How do you feel about AI now? Like, do you think it's a good thing or like it could go bad or I don't know.
Um, well, personally, I'm excited in a
Yeah.
positive way because I never think that something is bad actually. Like I don't feel that. I can probably sometimes I will say that I will
Mm,
be in my head, but initially I never think anything's bad. Like it's a chance. And
yeah.
I also don't think AI is, it's not something that just fell on our heads from the sky. It's something that, I mean, we developed it and we are feeding
Mhm.
AI information. So whenever people will freak out in the comment section on Instagram and they will say, oh, AI is going to do this and that bad thing to us, I'm just thinking, but that's a machine that is learning from what we put into this machine. So just stop putting shit into the machine and just
Yeah.
like do good stuff with it and be kind, because
Mhm.
I I also think that um I have my very own definition of intelligence, and I think what we are calling AI, what we are calling artificial intelligence, is not intelligence, it's just artificial support for now, and or
Mhm.
artificial in logical intelligence or something like that, but it doesn't cover everything. And I think for now it's just repeating what we are telling it. And there
Mhm.
is no real danger for me. I mean, it's still a tool, a human tool. So we are the
Yes.
danger at the end of the day, if there even is one.
True. We
And
are the danger, if anything. I like that. Just yeah. I do think yeah, people have a lot of fear about it. And it's like anything. It's like it can be used for great things if we choose to use it for great things.
Mhm,
And that's my only concern. It's like there's nothing wrong with what we create until you want to use it to like do something bad.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and I guess there is like the question of, oh, when it becomes uncontrollable by us, because I know you said you currently believe it's just like artificial, that it wouldn't get to that point, right? Or do you
Um,
think it could?
mm, I think for now it's like a secretary. So you say, okay, please
Yeah,
solve this and that task, and this is what it's gonna do. So I think for
yeah.
now it's just an extension of us. It's not its own
Hmm.
thing, for my understanding, but it can become one. Yeah, I think it is possible,
Yeah,
but the basis is made by us through us. And
support, yeah. And that's what I hope that it stays as, like as a support, you know.
Mhm.
We can get into the crazy, you know, what it could be, but yeah, I think that the only thing is like regulations, even with like when technology was being made or social media, it's like there are unintentional bad things that come along with it. So I think when we're being in like such a space of rapid like evolution of technology and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
because you
yeah.
just think about it from like the 1980s to now, so much has been created. It's just like you have to have safety revolving it as well as time goes on because people don't think about those things when they're creating it, which who would think that like, you know, social media could have such a negative effect on kids or things like that, you know. There's so much good that comes with it, but it's only if it's used right. So I just think that with AI, it's like it's a great tool as long as we, you know, just watch it as it continues to grow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's also so much that it brings with it. Like, for example, this whole Neuralink topic. Um,
But
or what
oh, in your brain?
yeah, 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 yeah. And
Yeah.
the idea that you could probably upload your consciousness, that you kind of people are trying to, or
Crazy.
thinking about immortality when it comes to their own thinking. And I'm
Mm.
discussing that with my husband sometimes, because he has the position, like he thinks, oh, isn't that cool? Because I can upload my consciousness and then this thing just exists and it's like forever. And but he's very, a very logical person. And I just think,
Mhm.
and I feel I am already forever. And if you bend me to my logical thinking forever, it feels like a prison. So for me, it
Mm.
doesn't feel alluring at all. I just think, oh God, please no.
No, literally, I'm thinking the same thing because I think I think if you feel like that depends on your belief, you know, if you
Yeah.
feel like this is it, this experience is it, then maybe you would want to offload your consciousness if you feel like there's nothing after this. But I personally feel like this is just one experience, you know, as a human or whatever. So it's like, yeah, because I guess I don't know. Do people consider their consciousness their soul? Would that is that essentially what they're saying, right? But if you feel like you have a soul, then why would you want it to be trapped here forever? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, I think there are also different definitions. Like my husband thinks soul and consciousness are two different things. I think he defines
okay.
consciousness more like the thinking, and I go along with what you just said.
Um,
For me, it's one thing. It's like probably the overall consciousness. For him, it's like consciousness means like being conscious and receiving and giving out
mm,
information. So I think it's a terminology thing. And I always also try to
Yeah.
explain, no, I mean consciousness, like the observing consciousness that is there regardless if I have a personality A or B, or if I'm in this body or somewhere else. It's like the overall observing thing that I believe that, or I feel that I am. And but
Hmm.
that's probably really a matter of belief at the end of the day.
Yeah, very true. So I'm gonna ask you this. Well, it depends on what you believe. So, like you were saying that, like you believe like you're eternal, like your soul, right?
Mhm.
So do you feel like people are born with like certain innate personality types based on like their soul? I'm wondering this just because, like, growing up and being like who you are, feeling so comfortable, being outside of the status quo, like, do you think that's something that's just inherently in you as well?
Yeah, I think sometimes it is because I think that from my understanding of how I see things is that everything is soul, actually, just
Mhm.
expressing itself in form, in bodies, in sound. So everything is consciousness, or everything is God, or everything is whatever you want to call it. And it
Mhm.
expresses itself into different shapes, forms, sounds, pictures. Like it shows itself through different things. And I think that form and soul and its expression go together. So when I see
Mhm.
plants, for example, or animals, and they have a certain shape and a certain color, I'm kind of wondering, what does it want to tell me? Like, okay, it's a very, let's say, like a red or very yellow color, like something very bright. And I think it wants to be seen, or it wants to be
Mhm.
heard. So that's the expression of the soul, is it's like it wants
I
attention,
love
or it's
it.
something small, or it's hiding. So that's this expression, like everything's wonderful, or everything's very interesting in itself, and it expresses
Mhm.
itself differently through this specific form or sound. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that perspective. It's nice to talk to you because I feel like I don't know many people who I agree with that. Like, that God is kind of everything and,
Hmm.
we're expressing ourselves and, there's like, spiritual, like this is a spiritual experience too. I think it can kind of
Yeah.
be separated sometimes and like people will want to delve into that side, but it's like it's all connected, because
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
I've gone through like, a lot of spiritual information online and stuff and just
Hmm.
like learning my own things and people so much wanting to separate like human life because it is ugly when you look at it sometimes, but it's like at the same time, you're here to have this experience for a reason. So you can, I think some people want to just stay so much on like that. How am I trying to say it? Like, I think people can get boggled down by, the bad things in this world that don't want to be like, they don't want to live
Hmm.
humanely. They just want to live like spiritually, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, totally. It's like, oh, okay, so physical experience or going through things is uncomfortable. I just want
Yeah.
to transcendent it and be
Right,
somewhere
right.
else.
That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
and I just think if this was really what you wanted, from my belief or my perspective, if that was what you wanted, you wouldn't be here. So it's again
Hmm.
this, you're terribly uncomfortable right now. You're experiencing terrible discomfort, and you try to hide away from it through meditation, through spiritualism. So through certain practices, you try to avoid the action. And that
Yeah.
is like, I can totally feel that, because sometimes I will also have this thought, like, but am I not too uh like, I didn't I meditate enough, why does this person at the red light yelling at me? Why is it like that? But no, like, that's
Mhm.
experience, and
Yeah.
obviously I want to be here or I wouldn't.
Right.
And
And
yeah.
and yeah, I think those practices help you continue to like be okay here too. That I do think like, yeah, meditation is great. Mindfulness, like those things are good because it'll keep you grounded and it'll keep you like it'll allow you to sometimes work through the things that you do have to work through here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So but yeah, it's like balancing those two things. It's important.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool though.
I think the practices, they help you um separate yourself from the experience, like to show you that you are not the discomfort and you are not the situation that
Mhm.
happens to you. So you know the truth while you can still experience that. So you don't identify too hard with it. So it kind of helps you with that, but you still need to go there and to do the thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true.
yeah, and it all goes back to this discomfort thing at the end that we started with. Like even if we meditate, even if we have our spiritual experiences and beliefs, we still it seems to be the way that we still have to do the thing. We still have to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable and to be just okay with that.
hmm And my thing too, like bringing it back to just people like doing what they want to do is like you're gonna be like people don't realize that you're still gonna be uncomfortable doing
Yeah.
something that you don't want to be doing. So why
hmm
not
hmm
do what you do want to be doing, you know?
hmm
There's
hmm
like levels of, you know, it's like unhappiness with that thing. But if like you're just gonna be unhappy versus being uncomfortable, I don't know, like give and take, you know?
How would you actually say is being uncomfortable different from being unhappy? Like what's how do you separate that?
I feel like uncomfortable is a short-term feeling. I feel
hmm
like unhappiness is like a long-term feeling, a little bit, you know? Like you're doing a job that you don't want to do. You're probably going to not enjoy that most of your day while you're there. Whereas it's like, say the thing you want to pursue is a singing career. You're gonna have to be uncomfortable for a short stint of time, and
hmm
then you're gonna reap the rewards of that thing, if that makes sense. Or
Yeah.
like or like uncomfortableness can go down. Like you can be uncomfortable the first time you go sing in front of an audience, but as you do it more, you're gonna not feel uncomfortable. And a lot of the times it's just the beginning part. It's getting on the stage to sing in front of someone. But once you're singing, once you're in it, you feel good about it. So to me, that's like the difference.
So it means you have to try it out to figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the difference is working for yourself or against yourself somehow. So if you know you're doing
Yeah.
something for yourself, but you feel uncomfortable, but you know you're doing the action because you defined it as valuable for yourself. So you're doing it because you want to achieve something, it's
hmm
discomfort. But if you know you don't want to do something and it's bad for you and so on, and you keep doing that, like, for example, you try to become a lawyer, although you don't want to do that, and just your family wants to do that, and you
hmm
go down this path and you're working against yourself because that's not what you want to do. So that makes you unhappy. So
Right.
because you're working against what you actually want to do.
That's what your heart is saying to do. And then
hmm
there's also like, I'm trying to think of a lot of different situations where like it's uncomfortable. And I just saw this video of this girl like jumping off of like she was skydiving for the first time. And it's like it's
hmm
always just the beginning that's uncomfortable. But then when she's like jumping and she's free and she's just like, oh wow, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. It's just it's almost like your brain tricking you into something gonna be something being worse than it is.
hmm
Um, like that discomfort is not really valid a lot of the times
Yes.
once you actually do the thing.
Yeah, if you know I want to go skydiving, that's actually what I really would like to try, then you
hmm
have to overcome the discomfort.
Yeah.
For me personally, there is nothing, or there are not so many things that I would like to do less than skydiving because I don't feel that. Like I don't have this
Yeah.
idea like, oh, that's a great idea. I really want to jump off this thing right now. Like
Right.
I feel zero passion to do that. So I think I would make myself terribly unhappy forcing
Yeah.
myself into it because I don't want to do it. But if it was my
hmm
dream, sure, then
Right.
go through
Right.
that and be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's like no one's here telling anyone to go do something that's like not
Yeah,
something they
yeah.
don't want to do, you know, just be uncomfortable, like go sit in a like mud. I don't know, like like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
uncomfortable, but there's no benefit of that actually. So why are we doing it? So,
yeah.
you know, it's just making sure that the thing that is uncomfortable that you're doing actually, you know, leads to something better for yourself.
Yeah, so you need to define your own values. You need to define
Yeah.
the things for yourself that you want to do in your life. That's why I thought it's so awesome that you knew already you want to do the baking things and you want to start your
Mhm.
own stuff. And that's so cool that you defined that, I would say, really early for yourself already. Because I also know
Mhm.
people, many people who are stuck, or they experience themselves being stuck in jobs, in certain like
Mhm.
corporate jobs, and being hired somewhere, and they are unhappy, and they say, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know my passion. I don't know where I want to go. Do you have a tip
Mhm.
for people in that situation, how they could figure out what their passion is?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say is just like try new things, try things that you think you like. I don't know, I had a friend when I moved here who was like closer to 30 and I was like 22. And she always said, you should use your 20s to try everything under the sun, everything you can,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know like what you'll find that you love. So it's just like letting yourself try new things, I think is a big thing. Um, and then the other thing I would say is just like sitting with yourself and saying like what do I want my life to look like and then aligning what you want with that because
Mm-hmm.
I think before like even being as young as I am like I did a lot of different things like at one point when I was in school I wanted to be an accountant and I was like I don't want to do that and then I had like an internship in HR and just like through a couple summer internships like I got good
Yeah,
business um experience but I was just like I don't want to work in the corporate world um and then like I still baked throughout all those things, but I was just like, I don't know. Then I had the online bakery and then I transitioned to like doing weddings and stuff, but like I hadn't really landed on something that I wanted
yeah.
to do consistently. So like where
Mm.
I'm at now, and of course it still could change. Like I think that's the beauty of it, you can change when you want, but
Yes,
um being an entrepreneur specifically and like having this like lifestyle blog that can encompass all the things that I want to do has been something that I could see long term. When I think about, oh, I want to travel, I want to do all these things, this is a business where I could go wherever I want and I could do it. I think
mm,
about where like future me, what kind of life I want to be living, and does the job or the career or whatever you're pursuing actually align with that? Because before, when I wanted to own a bakery, it's like, I don't want to do that because I'm going to be stuck in one spot forever.
mm,
And I just didn't like that level of not having that freedom. So it's
sure.
just, really thinking about those things and being like, okay, what is it that I want to, what is it that I want? And having like somewhere that you want to go is like the first step, I think. And then adding in your passions and what you like. And if the job doesn't exist yet, creating something. I don't know,
Love
like,
it.
I would say those are a few things that I thought about getting to this point.
I love
But
it.
just being an entrepreneur in general, it's just like I also feel comfortable in knowing that I can change it. Like I feel like
Hmm.
it's so encompassing of so many things. Like even like you having Insanity podcast, if you ever wanted to dive into the, like having merch for Insanity, like if you wanted that, like you could add that to what you're doing because it's just, I don't
Hmm.
know, there's so much freedom in creating something for yourself. So.
I love that. I love several points that you mentioned. Like one of them is the change aspect. That's right. You can just try and nobody forces you to stay there forever. Like even I don't
Mhm.
want to give up on that, never ever, but for now at least. But I just think it's this feeling that whatever decision you make right now, it doesn't have to be forever. And
Mhm.
it's very often it feels like we are thinking excessively about should I start this job or that, or should I go down this path or the other one, or should I dye my hair, or should I, yeah? And we will always, it's like it's a decision for eternity, and it's just not. It's just for right now, and it will probably lead you to another thing that is actually
Mhm.
then probably forever, or maybe it's not, but you can change any time. And I think that gives so much freedom and so much space when we just feel into this, oh, okay, whatever I decide right now, if I don't like it, I just stop doing it. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one additional question for now. And
Yeah.
this is just because I've realized that you were also podcasting, I think, or you had some podcast clips with other creators, and I saw that bunch of the videos, at least the recent ones, were on the topic of relationships. And I was just wondering if it's one topic that Yeah, for sure. I mean, we also meet so many awesome people through social media. So
Exactly.
yeah, I feel there are way more advantages than
Mhm.
there's a lot of yeah, like li likes hunting and following hunting, but
Right.
that's okay. I just try to swipe it away quickly enough so I don't get too
Mhm.
much of it, but sometimes it gets through and it's okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's sometimes very entertaining too, so it's
No,
fine.
I agree. And then you realize it's popping more because you stayed too long in a video and you're
Yeah,
like, ah, now they are
I'm like,
putting it in my
damn,
algorithm.
yeah, exactly. I'm fucking up my algorithm one more time. But hey, why not? I mean, that's how I saw your stuff, and
Exactly.
it's
And
more
there was
than
much
worth it.
more than that relationship conversation to see. So
For sure. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, I have only one more thing actually on my list. If you have more, let me know. But I have like an invitation if you like, because the podcast has a Discord server and it's a small community that is growing. And if you like to use Discord and if you like to chat and also like to talk to people about psychology, philosophy, all that stuff, then I can totally send you an
Yes.
invite.
Please do. I think that's one of the reasons like I do what I do too, because like I want to meet more people that have that kind of mindset who have like these conversations because it's so interesting. So I would love to get to that.
Great. Yeah, then I will send it to you. It's really small. Like we have, I don't know, maybe about 20 people or so, not so many active ones, but the ones who are active, they are super interesting, discussing really nice stuff. And I thought you would be probably great, a great
Mhm.
guest.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Now, do I have any questions? I think I do have one fun, just like last question is like, what what is the current dream you still have for like your future, if you have one?
Yeah, I do. I totally do. I want to do coaching with people. So I would really like helping people more. That's probably another thing that I could have mentioned. So yeah, I was in marketing for a very long time and I'm kind
Mhm.
of yeah, probably doing some small stuff at the side, but I don't want to work in marketing anymore. So I'm kind of dropping it. And the next thing I want to do career-wise, I really want to work with people and I want to help people to achieve what they want to achieve, like whatever it is, I want to help them. And I was educating myself a lot in psychology topics and coaching and whatever else you need to probably be a good helping hand in
Yeah.
achieving certain goals also when it comes to business, because I did have or I still do have a really good career. It's just that it doesn't match with my values anymore, or it's very creative. It's a lot of fun, but I want to do something for somebody, not for a brand, not for a client. I want to help people to actually get where they want to get
Yeah,
personally for
I
them.
love that.
What's yours?
I feel that too. Um, I would say currently, like my main dream right now is to just create my blog to a point where I can like make a full-time income on that. So where I can really focus on just like putting out content solely. Because
Mm,
I think for me, it's just like I don't want to be stressed with having like this part-time job. And even the
yeah.
business that I have now, like I want it to just be me doing my baking recipes and my blog is like baking recipes, self-care, and dream life motivation. So I would say that's my current like dream right now.
Yeah, I love
Um,
it.
I do have one later on, but I'm like, that's probably gonna be like 10 years down the road, but I need some time for that one. And I won't share it yet because it's a business idea.
Okay,
So
okay.
I don't want to
Yeah.
misdo it, but you'll see it eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. How
Because
cool.
that one has more to do with like you said, like helping other people. It's like I want to get to the point where like, you know how they say, like, you got to fill your cup before you go and fill everybody else's. So um, that's the goal right now, to fill my cup so I can overflow to the rest of the people.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Would you
Yeah.
actually also be something like a baking or cooking coach for others? Like, would you also teach that?
Mhm. I've thought about it with like, because I took a couple courses on food photography and stuff, and um, it's like in the back of my mind, but I'm not for sure on that yet. So,
Okay, if you ever want to go down that path, then let me know, because maybe there is also an opportunity for that, since my husband has an online college, for a project-based college, and maybe that could be interesting because he likes to work with creators who start their own business or who have their own business already, and who can be mentors
mhm.
for other people who are interested in doing something similar. So maybe can
Wow,
be a touch
awesome.
point.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. It was an
Yes.
awesome
Thank you for having
episode.
me. This was a great conversation. I might
Yeah,
have to bring you on mine now and have a conversation with you and
I
ask
would
you some
love
more
that.
questions.
Yes, yes, we
Yes.
can also totally repeat that sometime. I would love to. It
Hmm.
was a pleasure.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. And I see, because I have YouTube, but I'm like, should I just transform these into podcasts? Because it's kind of like podcast information, but I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm
Yeah,
relatively new to that space.
yeah, I'm following you. I see that, and I will always share it with Insanity. And if you want to chat, just let me know.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much again.
Thank you. It was great, and I will let you know when I drop the episode.
Have a
Thank you,
good day.
Deirdra. You too. Bye
Bye.
bye.